The Miami Dolphins are a team over the past decade that really has not been able to do hardly anything in the NFL. They've hardly made it to the NFL playoffs in a very long time, and today we're going to be going over the quarterback situation for the Dolphins and whether or not Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback that they drafted this past offseason, is going to start in 2020 for this team. And of course, we're also going to be going over the history of last season and, of course, the quarterback situation in Miami just in general. And we're going to be going over my predictions as to who is going to be starting for the Dolphins going into next season. But with that, let's look at our quarterbacks from 2019. Of course, last season they had a couple of quarterbacks that did split time, including Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick's been all over the place. He's been with 8 different teams over his career, which is basically, a fourth of the NFL teams he's been with over at some point in his career, which is absolutely crazy to think about. I mean, 8 teams, that's absolutely crazy. But he put up arguably his best stats in 2019 for sure. I mean, if you looked at him, especially when he started to play at the beginning of the season, I mean, he made a big difference for the Dolphins. I mean, this team was improved a lot over the season. Of course, they were able to get a couple of good wins towards the end of the season, which a big part of that was because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I mean, he's a very inconsistent quarterback. Of course, he's had some good games and he's had some bad games. And quite honestly, with him being 38 years old this season, I think it's a good move for the Dolphins to go with a quarterback in the NFL draft. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, from the start, the Dolphins were expected to pick up a quarterback. But for Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course, he's done a great job over his career. I mean, he's had a couple of good seasons, and he's had some interception issues as well. Of course, last season, he had just over 3,500 yards with 20 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, along with a 62% completion rate. So once again, I mean, those are some of his best stats that he's ever put up in his career. So I mean, certainly considering those stats aren't always or aren't as good as most quarterbacks can get to, I think for the Dolphins, this is a good decision to pick up Tua, and I think Tua definitely could or is going to be able to have more upside in his career than Ryan Fitzpatrick in general. Of course, once again, when he's going to be 38 years old this season, you gotta kind of understand that he's starting to get to the point where, I mean, there's not a lot of upside for him. He's starting to get towards the end of his career, and there's a little bit of a concern there. But once again, if the Dolphins were to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick for the next season, maybe sit out Tua, I think this team could still be decent. I'm not sure whether or not they'd be better, but we'll get to that more in a second. But looking at Josh Rosen, of course, he came in from Arizona after the 2018 season, and he had a very underwhelming start to his NFL career. Of course, when he was at UCLA for his college career, he was a great quarterback. He put some great stats, one of the best quarterbacks in the Pac-12 for his entire career, and yeah, he's a very impressive quarterback all around, and for him to underwhelm as much as he has, it's been a big surprise to me. And of course, he came into the Dolphins last season looking at being the QB2, and that's where it was for the majority of the season. Of course, he started 3 games in 2019, but that was just about it. As he had 560 yards with 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions last season, and his accuracy rate is absolutely horrible as well, with a 53% from last season and a 55% from 2018 when he was the starter for the majority of the season for the Arizona Cardinals. And even in 2018, he did not have the best stats: 2,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. So, I mean, if you were to compare Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, obviously Josh Rosen may have more upside because he is the younger quarterback in this situation. But you got to understand, too, that Ryan Fitzpatrick does have more experience, and I think in general, he is more of an NFL quarterback than Josh Rosen. I mean, until Josh Rosen proves himself, I just do not have a whole lot of faith in him. And I think just in general, Ryan Fitzpatrick could be the better quarterback for the Dolphins out of Josh Rosen and him. So with that, let's look at Tua now. And of course, he has been a top 3 college quarterback over the past couple of seasons, and he's been outstanding in pretty much every game he's played. And yeah, when he came onto the scene when he was at Alabama, I mean, yeah, everyone just noticed how great of a quarterback he was, and that is very evident by his stats. I mean, look at his accuracy rate. I mean, he has a 71% accuracy rate last season, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, that's one of the best in the entire FBS, I believe, from last season. And even in 2018, he put up some great stats. I mean, he put up nearly 4,000 yards with 43 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Those are like MVP type of stats for college football. And he had a 69% completion rate in that season. And of course, in 2019, he was injured for a good chunk of the season, but he was still able to put up some really good stats: 2,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and once again, that 71% completion rate. So the only concern that I've got with Tua right now is, one, whether or not he's going to flop like Josh Rosen did, which I really do not expect Tua to. I mean, this is a quarterback that I think has got a ton of upside. I mean, I think he's got potential to be just like Patrick Mahomes or a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's got potential to really be just as good as them. And I mean, looking at his touchdown to interception ratios, he does not have much of an interception issue at all. So, I mean, even though he's a bit of a different style quarterback, I think he's still a great one. And I still think he's got a ton of potential going into his NFL career. And I'm really looking forward to, in general, how he's going to do this upcoming season. So, yeah, with that for Tua, of course, I mean, the big question is for this team is whether or not they want to go with a very young quarterback, a rookie, over their veteran quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's really tough to say right now. Once again, when you got a top 3 college quarterback over the past couple of seasons, it wouldn't shock me a single bit to see him be a starter for at least a few games next season. And I mean, yeah, when he's healthy, he's proficient. He's a great quarterback. I mean, pretty much outstanding. I mean, he just absolutely blew people away last season in the SEC. Brings up a few questions. How much of a risk would it be to have Tua as the starter? Of course, for the Dolphins next season, this is a team that really does not have anything to lose right now. And so with that, I would say for the Dolphins, it is not a bad idea at all to go with a quarterback that is young, or at least try him out for a little bit. I mean, this Dolphins team, I mean, they've got potential to maybe be a 8-9 win team next season at the most, I would say. I mean, this team still has a lot of rebuilding to do, but they've got potential, I think, to do some big things. And that's especially if Tua plays well, which, I mean, once again, he's a quarterback that I think definitely has potential to do so. But yeah, how much of a risk would it be? I wouldn't see the Dolphins are really risking anything by putting Tua as the starter. I mean, the only risk that you take there is whether or not he gets injured or not. Of course, he was injured last season, so he could be an injury-prone quarterback going into his rookie season. But that's really the only risk. I don't really see any other risk for the Dolphins heading into next season as to a risk. Also brings up the question why Fitzpatrick or Rosen would start the first few weeks at least before Tua gets rotated in. Of course, I mean, that's a big thing that a lot of people are talking about, is whether or not Fitzpatrick or Rosen would start a few games before Tua was let into the mix. And I think that's what they may do at first. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick may start the first couple of games, and then they may rotate and give Tua a chance and see how he does. It's once again, it's tough to say. I just don't think that the Dolphins are really going to let Tua start right off the bat. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be kind of similar to the situation with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield, where he had to wait a couple of weeks before he was able to really get his shot. And when he did get a shot, he played really well. So for Baker Mayfield, I mean, that turned out really good. But I mean, would it be better if he started right away? I mean, it could. I mean, who knows? Tua could be a great NFL quarterback, and he could lead this Dolphins team possibly to a great season. And if at the end of the season, when you finally discover that Tua is a great quarterback, I mean, who knows? I mean, Tua could be a possible player that could lead this team to a 10-win season, possibly even a wild card pick in the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, really anything could be up in the air for this quarterback, and I think he's got a lot of potential. Once again, I mean, Tua is a quarterback that was very accurate while he was at Alabama. I mean, he's got a ton of upside, one of the best upside, or the best upside of hardly any player in the NFL. So, yeah, once again, he's got a ton of potential to do some really big things next season. And as for my predictions on this, I would say, honestly, I'm going to go kind of with a majority here, and I'm going to say that I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick will start at first, and it wouldn't surprise me a single bit to see him start maybe the first 2-3 weeks, maybe even the first 4, like throughout that entire September, maybe the early parts of October. I think, though, the Dolphins, after a while and after Tua kind of gets into the mix of it, I think they do give him a chance, and it's tough to say whether or not, I mean, with all of his injuries that he's had, whether or not it'd be a bad idea. But I think the Dolphins are going to go with him. I think they're going to start him at least at some point this season, and if Tua stays healthy, I expect him to do well. I think he's a quarterback that would definitely fit in well in an NFL scheme. Of course, he's very confident. He doesn't have much of he handles pressure really well is what I should say. I mean, if you look at some of the situations he was faced to put up with in college, I mean, he did very, very good. I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, once again, I mean, that's very evident by how accurate he was as a quarterback. He just was great all around in general. So, yeah, once again, I think that the Dolphins definitely will give him a chance. It's just a matter of whether or not they will go with him for the majority of the season, which, once again, really tough to say. But as far as Josh Rosen goes, I honestly do not even think he's going to be part of the mix. I mean, I think he'll be competing for the job, but I think he's going to end up as a third stringer for the majority of the season. If anyone's going to start for the Dolphins at some point this season other than Tua, it's going to be Fitzpatrick, in my opinion. I mean, just looking at how Rosen has performed over the past couple of seasons in the NFL, it has been extremely underwhelming. Once again, he's a very underwhelming quarterback in the NFL so far. I mean, he's really surprised me in that factor. I thought he'd be a great quarterback. I mean, if you look back at his college career, I mean, he has all the upside in the world coming into this NFL career. And, of course, it's once again being very underwhelming for him. And I think Tua in general does have more upside, and I think Tua's got more potential to do bigger things. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this Dolphins team does in general. I mean, they're picking up a lot of great players this offseason. They've got a lot of potential. Watch out for this Dolphins team. They could get a couple of sneaky wins this upcoming season. But with that about wraps up this video on what I think about the quarterback situation for the Miami Dolphins and who I think that will start for this team. Of course, once again, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick will probably start the first couple weeks at least, just to kind of get Tua in the mix. And I think they give Tua a shot possibly in early October, maybe even mid-October. And I think if he plays well, no doubt the Dolphins will go with him for the majority of the rest of the season. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I believe, has actually stated that he would be fine as being a backup quarterback and just being a good mentor to Tua, which I support a ton. I think that's really a great job by Fitzpatrick there. But once again, really looking forward to this quarterback situation and seeing who pulls away in this situation in Miami. So, yeah, with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this quarterback situation. Let me know who you think will win out the starting job. Once again, it's pretty much a toss-up right now, but I think Josh Rosen, for the most part, is pretty much out of the mix. I mean, unless something crazy happens, I just don't expect him to win a starting position by any means. But, yeah, with that, thanks for watching once again. Be sure to stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. And as always, if you enjoyed this preview, be sure to slap a like on it, subscribe as well. Really helps out the channel. I'd appreciate that a ton. But as always, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.